we're back. Okay, so hopefully the more you use DevTools, the more you use this debugger, and that's what this is called. And the debugger that's built into DevTools allows you to walk through code. So important. So helpful to see what you're doing or what the code is doing that you're writing, because oftentimes that's one of the biggest challenges to figuring out what's wrong with your code is seeing what it's doing. Okay? So just as a review, right? If I'm right here and I want to have the code complete, right? So I'm going to move my breakpoint now down here, right? Because now I have all these other ones, right? I hit refresh. That's what activates the debugger to run. And then I've set it on line 10. So now I just step through the code, boom, step through the code, right? I get to here. It brings up that crazy script and I can just hit play and it just plays all the way through. Again, my content will look a little weird. All right, now let's talk about return values, okay? Because one of the things we'd probably want to do is do some kind of math, but use it somewhere else, right? So there's actually, even though it explicitly does return something, because we haven't told it what we're returning, it doesn't actually get used or even in memory, I think. But let's delete these well, actually, let's comment them out so we still have them in case we need them later. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we could say let result, in this case, equal let's just do times b. Okay. But now we're going to do one more step. We're going to say return result. Okay. Now return result, and we can simplify this later, but in this case I like to be more explicit about what the code's doing. And so when we call the function, we'll see this in the step through tools, the dev tools, right? It's going to return something. But here's the other part. Once you have something you want to return, if you do not, in this case I call it capture, but it's really that same process of declaring and assigning a variable to the result. Okay, that will not be able to be used because, by the way, that's the other thing is right now this variable is scoped only to this function. Okay, like if I was to, just FYI, right, console.log result, what would happen? Okay, what's your guess? What's your guess on what would happen? Let's just refresh it and go, ooh, it's not defined, because it's only scoped into this function. Okay, it's only available to code inside of the function. It's like it's got its own little private space and nobody else can get in or get out. Okay, that's not true. We'll see that later, but for today, okay. So here's what we're going to do is now we're going to say down here is let return value. Now it doesn't matter what I name it. Okay, I can name it anything. I almost shouldn't use return in there because you're going to think that's just a variable name that I've made up. And it's a camel case and whatever, right? So in this case, right, it's going to, let's actually watch it. Rather than to walk through it verbally, let's actually walk through it. Let me get rid of this. Okay, refresh my screen so I get the latest code. Right, here we go. Okay, so as I refresh the page, I'm going to call math. By the way, right now, and this is kind of cool, I could actually go down and say return. If I said return value, I'd be asking DevTools, what's the value of return value? And the answer is nothing, right? It's not initialized yet because I haven't done the return to assign that value, declare and assign. So let's actually do that now. So if I hit step, passing A and B, doing not, by the way, and again, this line has not executed. So result is undefined until I step into that line now. And this is the other thing. Look at all this awesome data you get out. I know I get really excited about this stuff because when students learn dev tools, they learn to be better programmers. Okay, now here's the key. Now I'm going to return. Now, when I return and I roll my mouse over return 40, it actually shows, right? So, and I could actually hear, and by the way, you can just up arrow. That's the other thing. You can just up arrow here. Boom, it's 40. It's there. Okay. And now I can just let it run. And because I didn't do console log here, the only time I saw it is when I actually asked for it. Okay. So I could do this one of two ways. I can say console log. I get tired of doing it. That's why you want to learn DevTools. I could do it there, right? And again, I could make it nicer. Boom, here. Could put those little things in there, and I could say, whoop, messed up. I could also just say, hey, do the $sign, do the curly brackets, return value. I'm going to say, this was returned from the function. Oh, this is a keyword. Let's say result was returned. Oh, what did I do? Oh, function. See? Smart. Oh, yeah. Actually, I made even a bigger mistake. Those were fine. Look at this. Here's what I did. I didn't start with the backtick. That'll do it every time. Yeah, if it's in a string, who cares what the name is? Yeah, this result was returned from the function. Okay. Now this time, let's take off the breakpoint. Let's just let it run by. Go ahead and that's the other thing is if you don't want to use this, you can just hit X here, refresh it, and then it'll come back. And then here's the output. This result was returned from the function. Sweet, right? I mean, that's just cool stuff. So I've talked about, let's go. I think I've actually gotten most of this content. Let's see if I got most of it. Oh, wrong one. Functions here. Here we go. Scope and functions, right? So we talked a little about scope and functions because I was saying that this result, and by the way, I could just type result here, right? Because, and I could just do this. I could just say const, right? And I could just say result here, right? Right? Because if I tried to do this inside, right, it wouldn't work, right? It would throw an error if I tried to declare result as inside of the function. But because whatever happens in, it's kind of like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Whatever happens in the function kind of stays in the function until we get to closures, and that's a whole other thing. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Okay. So now what we're going to do, now you actually are, this is your second commit, right? And this is the return of functions. How fun is that? Okay. So do that next commit. I'm not going to walk you through it. You got this. You know how to do it. And then we will cover, I don't know if we'll get to passing. We'll see. Maybe we'll just talk about arrow functions and then have one last one. We'll see about the whole functions as arguments. It's a good topic.